Okay, then I think we can start this session. So, hello again and welcome to this introduction to Ports Management, our customer portal. My name is Daniel Tabode. I work at the Ports Group as Head of Development, and I will be the one showing you some functionality in Ports Management. And if you have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat. I might be able to address them during the presentation or at the end. And if not, we will get back to you after in some way to answer your questions. So now we have logged into Ports Management, the customer portal of Ports Group. And the first thing you see as a customer is the dashboard page. And to the left, you see the menu with a few of our modules. And down to the left, you have an area where you can have contact information to your client manager and also place orders. But I will start with the dashboard and some of the functionality in the overview section of the menu, and then move on. So at the top, we have a summary of your rights and services. This customer has 11 trademarks and 3 legal services, and some domains and some digital services and 1 SSL certificate and some technical services. And I can click on these to drill down to see additional information. Further down, I have some information on what is active. I see my monitoring services. That is, if I'm watching my trademarks and domains, if there's any potential infringements and what has happened here recently. And again, I can drill down, but I will show you that in the when I come to that module. I also see just projects, that is any larger case the customer is doing together with the Ports Group. I can follow the projects, see what's new, communicate with Ports Group through the projects. I also see orders. That's the small things that are ongoing or that your customer has ordered. Then moving down to the map, I can actually zoom in a little bit, maybe to Europe. This gives overview of the customer's protection when it comes to trademarks and domains. And if you have the dark green color, you have both trademark and domain protection in that region. For example, in United Kingdom, this customer in our demo system has 4 trademarks, and I can see a little bit information on them, and 2 domains. The lighter color, lighter green, means I have either domain or trademark protection. And the gray color means I have no trademark or domain protection. Moving on from the dashboard, the start page, the next page in the overview section is portfolio. And this is just an overview of the rights and services you have. And it's meant to be non-technical, so also a business-oriented person will find this useful. First tab is trademarks, and you see the list of trademarks that we have. I can open up a trademark and see further details about the trademark. I can even bring up documents like registration certificates and other relevant documents for that trademark. So I have all the information on my trademark collected here. On most pages, you can also export the content to Excel if you need it in that format. Furthermore, you can register a new trademark, but I will show you that function a little bit later when I look at the general self-service create order function. Also common to most of our pages is that you have the possibility to filter them. In this case, the customer in this demo system has an organization hierarchy that looks like this. One object on top level, the customer is called Dipcon, and they have two companies, Dipcon AB and Kupol, and beneath they have a few departments. So if I want to see trademarks belonging to the Norway department, I can filter it like that. I can also free text filter in most pages. If I want to find only logos, I could do something like that. And that's generally how all the pages work. Moving on to the next tab, these are your legal services. So we categorize services in legal, digital, technical, typically, to give you a way to group them. And in this case, we have a few watches set up for this customer: a social media watch, a trademark watch, and a website watch. Moving on, here are your domains. You see some of the information on the domain, not all the technical information. There is a separate module for that. Moving on, we have the digital services, and that is services such as, see if we find some good examples, domain watch, local contact service, and just that we manage the domain. And here you can see information about those services. Next tab is SSL certificates. In this case, we have one SSL certificate. You see a little bit information on that. We'll also dig deeper into that when we go into the certificate module. Final tab is your technical services, and that's the services such as DNS, redirects that we put in this tab. So that is basically the portfolio module. It gives you an overview of all the rights and services you have with Ports Group. Moving on to projects. This is a list of active projects that is ongoing with Ports Group. And if we take the top one, domain infringement, Dipcon. So this is some kind of situation where a similar domain has been registered that infringes on our brand, and the customer has asked Ports Group to work on this case. And you see a little bit information, what is going on. You can work with documents, you can upload documents and exchange information and work together with Ports Group on different type of projects through this module. Moving on to orders. This is just a list of orders that are ongoing or completed recently. So if you register a domain, you will see it here, and I will show that a little bit later in this presentation. Finally, in the overview section, we have the invoices module. This is just a possibility to see your invoices and historic invoices and all the details of them. You can also export invoices to Excel if you need to do some type of processing of that data. So that is a quick overview of the overview section in Ports Management, where you kind of see everything you have and you work with projects and orders and invoices. The coming modules are a bit more dig deeper into a specific area. But before I go into how the monitoring works, I want to show you this area down to the left. You can basically see if you need to do something, you have two ways of doing it. Either you can call your client manager and we can assist you. Sometimes you also have a dedicated team with maybe a dedicated legal person and a dedicated domain person. And then you have contact information to those if you are that type of customer. The alternative is that you can do stuff through self-service. And the way to enter that is the create order button. And a large amount of our services is possible to order self-service. And you see what's possible here. But just to show you one example, I thought we could register domain. So I want to order a domain registration. I click next. I input the necessary information. I'm just going to type 2 dummy domains to show you. And in the next step, they ask, where should these be placed in my organization hierarchy? Then I get to input a little bit more information, details that the domain needs, like name servers and contact information. Finally, I need to approve some agreements to proceed with this order. Then I get a little bit summary of what I'm ordering and what it's going to cost. And finally, I can place the order. And the order has been placed. I can proceed to order other things that are related that you typically do when you order a domain. Maybe you want an SSL certificate. But for now, I'm just going to close it down, and then I'm going to go into the orders view. And here you see these 2 domain registration orders in progress. And as they become complete, you will see it here. And most of these things you can order is fully automated and complete very quickly, like a minute. But some are obviously more complicated and require manual steps, such as a trademark registration. Okay, I'm reading in the chat that some people don't see properly. Is that... I'm zooming to 100% according to a suggestion here. I don't know if you see it more clearly, but I hope so. Okay. So this is the area for getting stuff done. Contact your client manager or do it self-service. Then moving on to the more specific modules. So monitoring is a set of pages where you work with your monitors or watches. And in this example, this customer has 3 trademark watches. So I'm going to go into one of them. So this is, they have set up with Ports Group, like this is my trademark. And if anything similar is registered throughout the world, I want to know about it. And I want to be able to make a decision if I'm going to take some action or if it's not a threat to me. And looking at these hits, these are hits that are a little bit similar to Porch Group logo because it's round and has a dot. So I can look at all the details of this trademark application, in this case in EU, and read about it and make a decision if this is a threat or not. And there's two overall processes to work with this. Either you work with it yourself, you get all the hits, and then you can study it, and then you can tag if I think this one is not a threat and maybe this one is a threat, so you know what you have studied. The other option is to let Porch Group's experts review these and decide if it's a threat or not, and only give you the ones that actually are a threat, giving you a much shorter list to work with. And if you reviewed this and you find a few trademark registrations that you would like to at least investigate a little bit more, you can select them and press investigate, and using this form send an order to Porch Group to look at it. That's a quick look at the trademark watch. The domain watch is very similar, but it works with domain names. Here I'm watching domain names containing Porch Group. So for example, someone has registered Whelan Sports Group, so it's probably sport that is similar to Porch. So it's probably not a threat, but I can still also look at this domain, and it's the same procedure to work with them. When it comes to domains, you can also see that it's right now it's not a threat because maybe it's not active, but it might become a threat later. In that case, I can go on and monitor a domain, meaning I want to be notified anytime this domain changes. And that's the next function here. If I would be monitoring porchgroup.com, nothing has happened, so I can look further into the history. So I see every time this domain changes, either the DNS changes or the actual contents of the web page or some status of the domain, then I am notified. I can study the changes in the web page, for example, and when I decide it's a threat, I can send it to Porch Group for action. So this is the monitoring module where you work with your different kind of watches. Moving on to the next module, that is the domain administration. And we saw the domains in the portfolio view earlier, but now we're looking at the full technical view of the domains where we can do everything with the domains. So I see the list of domains. I can get all the details of a domain, and I can do all the actions on a domain. I can change the name servers or delegate it. I can work with DNSSEC manually. I can change contact information and owner, and so forth. I can also register new domains or transfer in domains. These are basically shortcut buttons. I could also reach it from the create order function. Then we have one function that is called search tool in the domain module that helps you work with domains. And one way to enter the search tool is to use the analyze button. And this will basically take all the domains I have, figure out which are the common keywords, that is to the left of the dot, and it will combine them with a set of TLDs or endings like SE and COM, according to my choice. And in this case, I'm presented with like a grid of information. So looking at, this is my first keyword that I have many domains named Dipcon. And I see that for SE, it is green, and green is good. That means I already own this domain. So I own this domain in most TLDs. But if we look at Kupol, this is a misspelled Kupol. For .com, it is red. That means it's owned by someone else or occupied. I can bring up a little bit more information. If the who is working, try this one. And the last color is yellow, and that means the domain is available. No one has registered it. So in this case, I might want to extend my protection by registering these three Kupol domains, kupol.eu, kupol.nu, kupol.info. And I can go ahead and register them from here. I can also, the ones that are owned by someone else, I can select them and I can investigate them. Ports Group can take action and see if there is anything that can be done, if it infringes or if we can buy it, some type of action. And this search tool you can also use with your own keywords. My cool brand and my mega brand. I typed two various keywords and then I select, okay, what TLDs do I want to run the analysis against? I could do arts and entertainment or maybe business, but I'll just do the top 30 TLDs in the world. So you can also use this tool to test a new brand or product name, see availability. So the names I typed were quite available. It's only the com domain, but obviously if I type something more common, I would see that it is occupied. A lot of red in this picture for a common brand. This is basically the domain module where you can do all you need with a domain. Next module to take a view at is the DNS administration module. And I don't know how technical this audience is, but the DNS system is what connects the domains to different usages, like a web server or an email server. So if I go into a zone or domain dipcon.com, this is the page where I administrate that zone or all the settings in the DNS system. And I can work with the records like this. I can edit them in dialogues and create new in dialogues. That's one way to work with the records. Another way is to use our advanced tab, and then you get more of a zone file format for those that are familiar with this. That's also a good way to import a zone. We also support redirects, and that is basically if you type a domain, you're sent to another location. And we have this with managed certificates as well. So if you, for example, have a temporary site, maybe for a campaign, and then when the campaign is done, you want that site to just forward the customer to your main site, but you have used HTTPS, then you must manage a certificate. Otherwise, the redirect will fail, basically, or give a warning. So we can do that automatically on the redirects. Then we have advanced functions such as connecting slave DNS servers or being slave DNS servers to other master servers. I won't go into that. One function that's very appreciated is the history tab. I have a full audit trail of all changes to my zone. I can see when it was changed and who changed it. And I can also go in to any of these changes and look at it. So for example, this change, we removed some records and we added 2 redirects. That was the change here. And if I change my zone and discover the changes were not good, I can always restore a previous version of the zone. Any previous version I can immediately get out on the internet if I need to. Just to mention some more things, we have Anycast DNS, that is DNS servers with a single IP, but with servers spread around the world for optimal performance and reliability. We have a fully automated DNSSEC service. That is a security feature, so no one can pretend to serve your domain or zone, more or less. We also have advanced features such as CNAME flattening. You can use CNAME records on the root or together with other records on subdomains. So this is basically our DNS administrator. Next module I want to show you is SSL certificates. In here I can manage all aspects of SSL certificates. I have one SSL certificate at the moment. I can go in and see the details. I can download the actual certificate securely from here. I can reissue if I need to change anything. I can also renew it from here. And of course, I can order new certificates. And we support a wide variety of different types of certificates, including VMC, for example, the one that gives you your logo in the client's inbox. Yeah, that's pretty much what I can mention. Is the SSL certificates module is also fully automated. So if I order a certificate here, in a few minutes, I could have it ready and automatically prepared. We even automate the challenges you usually have to do if you want to order a certificate, a domain validated certificate. You need to prove you own the domain. But if you have the domain and DNS with us, we will automate that check as well. And it will just give you the certificate in a few minutes with no further action from you. Then moving on to user administration. So worth mentioning here is that the port management portal is completely role-based. So what you see in this menu depends on what roles you have. So in this case, we have most of our functionality, but not all of it. And some users might only have the overview functions. They might not be interested in going into domain administrations themselves. Then they would not have that role. So, and the privilege system is two-dimensional, meaning that the roles, as I said, more or less control what actions you can do and what menu items you see. But we also have a dimension we call organization, and that is on what part of organization can you do these actions. So I can even go down to individual domains. So you could, for example, maybe you have a consultant that should only work with a few zones, then you can give him the right to work with zones on only a subset of the zones, or even subzones if you need to. And you can basically manage your set of users yourself using this user admin module. You can also let ports do it. And another option that we recommend is that you do a single sign-on integration, or a SAML integration, or an Azure AD integration, meaning that the user accounts you have in your system in your company are used here, like a federated login. That's the most secure way of doing it. And if someone, for example, quits and you block the account in your system, it's automatically blocked here as well. We also have, if you don't use SAML, we can still do two-factor authentication, for example, if you want it more secure. And we also recommend that if you don't do the SAML integration, you have to type a code from one of these code apps when you log in to make sure no one else can log in. So that is more or less the user admin module. You also have the possibility to manage your organization hierarchy if you want to set up another department and have some domains on that and so forth. I thought some things I could mention that you don't see in the web page is basically that using this customer portal is one way to access our functionality. Another is to use the ports management API. If you want to automate it even further, you can register domains fully automated by talking to our REST API. And I think that was a brief overview of the customer portal ports management, where you can manage all aspects of your rights and services with Ports Group. So let me just look quickly in the list of questions if there is anything we should bring up. Someone doesn't see all the information on the dashboard. That's yeah, not sure what that is about. And someone says they can't see the user admin section when they log in themselves. And the reason for that is that to do that, you need to have the role called user admin. And that is a role only a Ports Group employee can give you to start with. So just contact your client manager and ask for the user admin module. And after that, you can start administrating your own users. Let's see if there is any more questions that we should bring up. Yeah, there's some more questions about they don't see all the menu items, and that comes down to what roles you have. So in that case, just contact your client manager and ask for like domain administration or whatever you are missing. I see one question that if we have a service to sell a domain, and we do have that service. It's not one of the services we have exposed as self-service order, but if you need help with something that's not in the create order dialog, you just contact your client manager by phone or email, and they will help you sell a domain. Then I have a bit detailed question about SPF flattening. We don't have any specific support for that, but you can of course put up SPF records in the zones. Also a question, is this session recorded? Yes, it is recorded, and it will be distributed afterwards, together with any unanswered questions I might have missed. And another question is, yes, we do have CNAME flattening, meaning that you can put a CNAME on the root of a zone or the apex of a zone, and you often need to do that if you want to have a site in front of AWS, for example. I also see a question about the redirect function, if it redirects the entire site or only some pages. And see if I can answer that one quickly. We have different types of redirects. The most simple one, permanent redirect, or the HTTP status code 301 or 302, I don't remember which it is. And you can redirect the entire site, but you also have the possibility to redirect only some pages by specifying, like if you go into this section of the home page, redirect here. If you go into this one, redirect there. And we further have the possibility to include anything the customer typed after the slash, so to speak, or to drop it. And there's also the cloaked redirect, where you don't send a redirect to the browser, but just reload the content in an iframe. So you basically don't switch address in the web browser. What is the price of this? I see a question, and I'm just a technician, so I will refer you to your client manager for those type of questions. I got a question about TTL values in zones, and yes, you can of course control that. You can set the TTL on a zone level, and you can override it on record level if you want to have a shorter TTL, for example. But good, I think that wraps it up. So I thank you very much for your time, and I hope you find it useful. And as we said, this is recorded, so you will have the possibility to see it again. And if there's any questions we missed, we will also send that out in some way. And don't hesitate to contact your client managers for additional roles or informations about the customer portal or anything else. Thank you very much.